Morning light streamed through the half-drawn blinds as Madeleine Porter scrolled through her phone, bags under her eyes testifying to another sleepless night with 6-month-old Theo. She needed to send his latest pediatrician records to his daycare before her shift at the hospital. Working as a nurse while raising a child alone wasn't easy, but Madeleine had found her rhythm in the chaos of single motherhood. "Just one more thing to check off before heading out," she murmured, kissing Theo's forehead as he cooed in his bouncer. She quickly attached the doctor's note along with Theo's most recent photo, a heart-melting shot of him giggling in his blue onesie, his dimples on full display and his bright eyes capturing that special spark that made her heart swell every time. Her finger hovered over the send button when her phone rang, the hospital calling about shift changes again. Madeleine balanced the phone against her shoulder, listening to her supervisor, while simultaneously trying to finish the email. In the split-second chaos of multitasking, she tapped send without double-checking the recipient. Across town, in the sleek penthouse office of Porter & Hayes Development, Jackson Hayes was reviewing architectural plans for the company's newest luxury apartment complex. At 34, Jackson had built a reputation as one of the city's most ambitious developers, transforming the skyline with innovative designs that balanced luxury with sustainability. The email notification popped up on his screen with a faint ping. He glanced at it absently, expecting another contractor update. Instead, he found himself staring at the photograph of a baby boy with a message about daycare enrollment. Jackson frowned, about to delete it as a misdirected email when something made him pause. The sender's name caught his eye, Madeleine Porter. Porter. Like his business partner and mentor, Richard Porter, who had passed away unexpectedly 18 months ago. The man who had been like a father to him since he'd joined the firm as a young architect with big dreams and a scholarship background. The man whose daughter had vanished from his life after their heated argument at Richard's funeral. "That's impossible," Jackson whispered, studying the baby's face more carefully. The distinctive dimple on the left cheek, the shape of those eyes, they were unmistakably reminiscent of Richard. His phone buzzed with a message from Veronica, his fiancée. "Finalizing floral arrangements. Mother insists on orchids everywhere. Dinner with the wedding planner at 7. Don't be late." Jackson set the phone down without responding, his mind racing. The timing would be right. About 6 months after Richard died. After that night when Madeleine had confronted him at the memorial service, accusing him of caring more about the company than her father's legacy. The night when grief and tension had led to an unexpected moment of connection between them before she'd walked away, refusing his calls and cutting all ties. He stared at the baby's photo again, feeling his carefully constructed world beginning to shift beneath him. Jackson's assistant knocked on the door. "Sir, Ms. Winters is on line 1. Something about the wedding venue deposit." "Tell her I'll call back," Jackson said, his voice distant. He picked up his private phone and found Madeleine's number, still saved from all those months ago. Across town, Madeleine was frantically searching her sent emails when her phone lit up with a name she'd tried so hard to forget. Jackson Hayes. Her stomach dropped as she realized what had happened. No, she whispered, seeing the email she'd accidentally sent to his company address instead of Little Explorer's daycare. Both were saved in her favorites, one above the other. Her phone continued to ring in her hand. With trembling fingers, she answered, "Jackson." "Madeleine," his voice was carefully controlled, "I think we need to talk." "It was meant for the daycare," she said quickly. "I didn't mean to—" "Is he mine?" Jackson asked, cutting through her explanation. The question hung in the air between them, crossing the physical distance that had separated them for over a year. Madeleine closed her eyes, her free hand automatically reaching to touch Theo's soft hair. "I have to get to work," she said finally. "Madeleine, please, I need to know." She could hear the urgency in his voice, picture him in his impeccable suit in that corner office, with the view her father had loved so much. The office where her father had spent his final years building a company, instead of rebuilding his relationship with his only daughter. "Yes," she admitted, the word barely audible. "But it doesn't change anything, Jackson. You made your choice when you refused to honor my father's wishes for the riverfront project." "I'm coming over," he said firmly. "I have a shift at the hospital. I don't have time for this today." "Then I'll meet you there. St. Vincent's, right? You always said you'd never work anywhere else." Madeline felt a flash of annoyance that he remembered such details. Fine. Coffee shop across the street. 4 o'clock. I have a 30-minute break. She hung up before he could respond, her heart pounding. She looked down at Theo, who was happily gumming his teething toy, blissfully unaware of the storm he had inadvertently created. Madeline had built a life for them, carefully structured around her hospital shifts and Theo's daycare schedule. She'd chosen not to tell Jackson about the pregnancy, convinced he wouldn't care, not when he was so focused on building his empire and planning his society wedding to Veronica Winters, daughter of the city's most prominent real estate investor. Now her carefully constructed world was about to collide with his, all because of one misplaced tap on her phone screen. As she dropped Theo off at daycare, correctly sending his records this time, and headed to her shift at St. Vincent's Hospital, Madeline couldn't shake the image of Jackson's face when he'd see his son for the first time. Would he even want to be involved? Or would he offer financial support to keep everything quiet before his wedding to Veronica? She never expected that an accidental email would force her to confront the complicated feelings she still harbored for Jackson Hayes, or that it would lead him to question everything he thought he wanted. By the time her shift started, Madeline had convinced herself that their meeting would be brief and businesslike. Jackson would understand her reasons, they would work out some arrangement, and life would go on as before. She had no way of knowing that across town, Jackson Hayes was already making a phone call that would change everything, starting with cancelling a dinner with his wedding planner. The hospital corridor bustled with activity as Madeline checked her watch for the 5th time in 10 minutes. Her break started at 4, and it was already 3:50. She finished updating her patient's chart and handed it to the charge nurse. "I need to step out for my break," she said, trying to keep her voice steady despite the anxiety bubbling beneath her professional demeanor. "Everything okay, Maddie?" asked Rebecca, her closest friend at St. Vincent's. "You've been jumpier than a cat in a room full of rocking chairs all day." Madeline forced a smile. "Just a personal matter I need to handle. I'll be across the street if anything urgent comes up." As she made her way to the elevator, Madeline rehearsed what she would say to Jackson. She had justified her silence 1,000 times over in her head. After their night together, he had returned to business as usual, focusing on dismantling her father's riverfront revitalization plan in favor of luxury condominiums. When she discovered her pregnancy weeks later, reaching out to him seemed pointless. He had his world of boardrooms and blueprints. She had hers in hospital corridors and, eventually, midnight feedings. The coffee shop across from St. Vincent's was a sanctuary for hospital staff, a place where the strong coffee and sympathetic baristas helped power them through grueling shifts. Madeline pushed open the door, the familiar scent of espresso momentarily calming her nerves. Then she saw him. Jackson sat at a corner table, his tailored suit standing out among the scrubs and casual clothes of the other patrons. He was staring intently at his phone, his brow furrowed in concentration. He looked up as if sensing her presence, and their eyes locked across the room. Madeline felt a jolt of unwelcome electricity. She had forgotten how his gaze could make the air between them feel charged, even when they disagreed, which had been often, especially in the final months of her father's life, when they had clashed over the company's direction. She approached the table, noticing the 2 cups already waiting. "You remembered how I take my coffee," she observed, sliding into the seat across from him. 3 years of working late nights on projects with you." "Some things stick," Jackson replied, his voice carefully neutral. He studied her face. "You look tired." "Single parent working full-time in healthcare. It comes with the territory," she said defensively. Jackson leaned forward. "Why didn't you tell me, Madeline? You had my number, my email, the office address, anything. And say what exactly? Remember that night after my father's memorial when we both lost our minds? Surprise, we're having a baby?" She wrapped her hands around the warm cup. "You made it very clear the next day that the company was moving forward with your vision, not my father's. You chose your path, and I chose mine. That was business, not personal," Jackson argued, frustration edging into his voice. "It was personal to me," Madeline countered. "That riverfront project was the last thing my father and I connected over before his heart attack. He wanted affordable housing mixed with community spaces, not another playground for the wealthy. The numbers didn't work, Madeline. I tried to explain that, and I tried to explain what it meant to him, to me." She took a steadying breath. "But none of that matters now. What matters is Theo." Jackson's expression softened at the mention of his son's name. Theo, he repeated, testing it out. Short for Theodore. Madeline nodded. Theodore Richard Porter, after Dad. Something flickered in Jackson's eyes. Pain, regret, or perhaps a mixture of both. I want to meet him, he said firmly. I figured you